Okay, sorry about that. I figured we'd have some technical difficulties here. If that's the worst of what happens today, I think have done pretty good. But yes, I am Michael Schwartz at Valley of the Suns, and I will be presenting some effective link building strategies for you today. So here's the slide that I was talking about, just why link building matters. I just said that links lead to rankings, which leads to traffic, which leads to conversions. So basically links can lead to conversions and basically make you money. So what I was saying there at the end is just that your efforts need to look as naturally as possible. If you go under the hood and see that all of your backlinks are pointing to one particular anchor text, then that's something that's probably not going to last too long. Google's too smart for that, and we've seen some clients who had situations like that from previous link building efforts start to get dinged here as Google's algorithm continues to get better and better. So one of the first things I like to ask myself when I am doing link building is, where's the competition? What are other people in this vertical doing that is successful? So there's a number of different tools you can use in this regard. Yahoo Site Explorer, my personal favorite, and what I'm going to show you a little bit later is Open Site Explorer through SEO Moz, and then there's also Majestic SEO and Link Diagnosis. All of these are going to give you a list of sites that link to your competitors, so you can kind of take a sneak peek at what's working for them and then try to make that work for you. Open Site Explorer in particular, I like that one so much because it gives you all the different anchor texts and also the page authority and domain authority, so you can real easily size up whether your competitor has a lot of high quality stuff or if it's of the lower quality variety. So the first thing you need to ask yourself is who is ranking, and then try to do some of the things that they are. Look at the most powerful links that these competitors have, and then see if some of that stuff can work for you. Look at some of those opportunities. If you're in the same vertical doing the same things, you might say, hey, if they're linking to that site, why shouldn't they link to you? And once you can make that kind of a case, then you can go ahead and request that link. And it's really important to consider that some things that work for them might be things that you hadn't thought about exactly. So, everybody has new innovative link strategies, and if you can, by looking at what they're doing, you can kind of get an idea of that and then possibly use some of that for yourself or for your clients. So basically what I was saying there, the thinking goes, if they're willing to link to your competitor, there's at least a decent chance that they're willing to link to you. So like if you're a medical directory and you see that a particular site has 5 or 6 medical directories and you're not on there, that would be a perfect opportunity to say, hey, I offer the similar kind of information, or I offer a different spin on this information. I think that your readers or site visitors would really be interested in something like that. You should really be looking at the top sites ranking for your particular keyword, because obviously the lower stuff, it's like, well, if they're way below you, what's the point? Maybe you might be able to pick something up, but really you want to spend the majority of the time looking at the top sites and understand that different types of links can be effective in different verticals. If you're trying to go for really high, a keyword that a lot of people are going after, a real high competition keyword, then you're going to have to do a lot more than in some of the smaller verticals where there's not as much competition. So something that works in one vertical might not work for another. So that's why it's always, you want to see what other people are doing to get ranked in that vertical and then try and do that. Okay, now we are at the Open Site Explorer portion of our program, and I want to show you kind of some of the first steps that I like to do. The first thing I'll do is when I'm trying to link build for a keyword is search that keyword and see, like I was saying, just see what comes up. So if I was going for industrial supply here, I would look at these first couple sites and say, why are these sites the first 3 in the SERPs? The example I want to show you is a competitor I have looked at in the past, bootsontheroof.com. And you just put it in here, click Get Link Data. And now you've got a lot of really good information. You could see the page authority and domain authority, so you can kind of know if it's an authoritative site that you're looking at. You can know how many linking root domains and how many total links it has. And if these numbers are completely off from where you're at, if it's way above where you are, then it basically is a great signal to you, hey, I really have my work cut out for me. If I'm not approaching the 10,000 number, I'm probably not going to be too competitive with this particular competitor. And at the same time, if you're way above them, then you know that, but you're still ranking below. If you're above them in total links but below them in the SERPs, then maybe it's a quality issue, and then you want to start looking at what they actually have. You can sort this. Here they automatically sort it by domain authority. And I'll start looking through for things like link library or /resources and /links. When you see those kind of things, you know that it's a place where you can get a link, and it's not just a general homepage. A site like this, I would say, I don't know about this here. This article's base is just an article site. That's not anything that's going to help you too terribly much. But when you see different things with links in it, then you're going to know, hey, this might be something that is worth checking out. And since it's in order, you'll know the stuff on the first page is going to be probably the best stuff. I'll go maybe 3 or 4 pages deep. They show 50 per page, so you can get about 200. And then there's a lot of other really good information here. It shows anchor text distribution. This is a very natural one. A lot of just the actual site name, Boots on the Roof. With some different, if you see just, if you're going for, just to say something really general, gardening, and all of it, 98% of their links are pointing toward that way, you know that they're trying to game it, and you know that that's something that they're probably going to get dinged for eventually. So it's always really interesting to see that, see what other people are doing, and go ahead and kind of cherry pick the best stuff. So now that you once you have the lay of the land, kind of know what other people are doing, know what's out there, you want to start formulating your strategy, and then it's time to go ahead and actually get the link. So some of the stuff may be low-hanging fruit, such as a directory that you see that your competitor's in. That's not really what you're looking for when you're doing a manual link building case such as this. You still want to go ahead and get it, because something like that obviously isn't too difficult to go ahead and get, but you're really doing this for high quality links that you're going to need to request from a webmaster, and that's what looking at these competitor backlinks can really help you with. Now, the types of sites that you're generally going to be looking at, obviously it's going to depend in different verticals. Some of them you're never going to be able to get, universities and colleges or government, but non-competing sites in your marketplace, then bloggers and related hobbyist sites, kind of similar. Obviously, if there's a blogger writing about the product you're selling, that's the kind of person, who knows what kind of partnership you can possibly field with them. In a little bit, I'm going to talk about some of the things you can offer in such a situation. But yeah, those are the kind. If they're writing about what you do anyways, they might be willing or find something on your site useful enough to go ahead and link to you. Then universities and colleges and government sites, those are really what the best case scenario are. Obviously, those links are very rare. So if you come across an opportunity, you're going to want to really put your all into going ahead and doing that. And depending on your vertical, sometimes it's something that's doable, other times not so much. The next step, now first off, before you start making your request, you need to understand that low response rate is just part of the deal. That's just what happens in link building. So many webmasters, they might not even look at that email account anymore. They might not care about adding your links. Or, I mean, there's so many different scenarios that just getting a response, I almost feel, is a positive, even if it's sorry, buddy, no can do on this one. And I kind of feel like you need to take the attitude that every failure brings you closer to a success, the old sales mentality, because there is going to be a lot of failure in this, and just don't worry about that because eventually you will get the success, and you could say that'll make it all the more sweet when you do go ahead and have some success there. So you really want to sift through those potential backlinks, identify which opportunities are worth your while and which not to bother with. If it's a no PR kind of situation and you think you're going to have to jump through a lot of different hoops, it might be worth to send a request, just a quick one. But on the other hand, if it's pr5.edu with other competing sites and you think that your client or your site kind of belongs on there, you're going to go ahead and pull out all the stops, do absolutely everything possible to go ahead and get that one. I always like to ask myself, would I link to this site? In my free time, as you can see from my Twitter handle, I am a blog owner, and I always like to think if someone came to me with this link proposal asking me to link to this, would I laugh in their faces, or would I consider it and say, that's interesting, maybe this could work out? If you aren't convinced yourself, then there's not a very good chance that you're going to convince a webmaster that your link is worthy of being on their site. And you really need to make your requests stand out from the rest. Webmasters get these kind of requests all the time, and if it's just the dear sir or madam kind of thing, they're not even going to look at that. If they even open that one, you're lucky. So, and that leads me right into the next slide of how to do that. And it is offering value. That's, to me, the absolute most important thing. You can do all the research you want. You can have everything you need, but if you don't have something valuable to offer the webmaster, there's almost no chance that you're going to get that link. Nobody links just to be nice, except for maybe a few kind old ladies on the internet. We've found one or two of them in our time here at Vertical Measures, but that's so few and far between that you can't expect someone to link to you just because you're nice in the request letter. You need to be offering someone value. This is America. This is what people want. Nobody does anything for anybody without getting that value. So it could be something like a compelling feature that would be useful to the site's readers. It could be maybe you have a forum on your site that's kind of one of the more topical, more important ones in the industry, and you could pitch that, hey, we have useful information that readers of your site would find complementary to what is on your own site. Something we did here at Vertical Measures a few months ago, we created a Linktoberfest infographic, and that showed you how to obtain different kinds of links, kind of like we're talking about here today, and also it showed approximately how many links you need per each PR point. For example, we found out you need about 40,000 links to get your website up to a PR6 level. This was something useful and valuable that anybody in the internet marketing sphere would kind of want to know, and we included an embed code with that so people could just embed that. But that's the kind of thing that people would want. The webmasters would look at that and say, that's kind of interesting. This can kind of advance what I'm talking about on my site or be complementary to it. And in that way, they would link to something that if it was just a general article that they're probably not going to feel so compelled to. It was also something that kind of stood out. It had all sorts of fun, fancy graphics having to do with beer, so that made it all the better. And you just need it to be something that is compelling enough that they think it will advance the discussion. It'll somehow be interesting to the people on their site. Other things we've offered, in the forum example, a coupon for the webmaster to join the forum, kind of be part of that community, and once they're part of that community, in return give you a link back. And also we found that discounts for visitors to the site to be pretty useful, particular in the edu domain, where basically we offer a discount, they put it on their website, and then their alumni or readers of their website can go ahead and use that discount. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. The site visitors get a discount, the webmaster gets to facilitate that, and then you get the link. So it's a true win-win-win in that type of situation. The biggest key to me, and if you learn one thing from this, I think this is kind of one of the most important slides here. You need to personalize the request. You need to show that you're a human and not just a robot. You can't just be some automated program sending out hundreds of requests a day, because you're going to have a better success rate, even if it takes you a lot longer to do a much smaller amount of requests. It's going to be worth it because more people are going to respond to you. You need to take a genuine interest in that site and not just do the "Hey webmaster" kind of to whom it may concern type of thing. And webmasters can tell the difference between somebody who actually might be an active participant and a part of their community and just a random person trying to get something for themselves. Like I said in the other slide, you need to show the value, and part of that can be the relationship. I feel like relationships are really one of the bigger parts of link building. Link building is all about relationships, and even if you can not ask for the link first right off the bat and try to build it, maybe you comment a couple times, become a little bit a part of that community, and then at that point you can maybe say, hey, I have this site here, you should check it out, I think it would be interesting because of blah, 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 blah. One of the ways I've done this is to find something interesting that stands out about the site or about that person, and then comment on that in a PS in my request letter. One of the ways you can do this is by going to the About Us section and seeing if there's something about that person or about the site that's interesting, and then build that relationship from there, because once you have that relationship, they're much more amenable to going ahead and linking to you than just some random stranger on the internet who wants a link for some reason. One thing that I did when I was first starting out link building that was really successful, I was looking for a link on a guy's site. I saw that he had an offshoot site, kind of a personal site, and then the one I was looking for was more of a business site. And in it, he was talking about how he has been able to predict Miss America contest, which, I mean, come on, that's kind of interesting. That's fun. It's different. And I asked him about that, and I said, P.S., I'm going to need to keep you in mind next time I'm gambling on Miss America contests. Just a fun little joke like that. And I feel like that kind of got me in the door. We joked about that a little bit, and it led to us a relationship that led to me getting a link for one of my clients. So just some things to keep in mind to kind of summarize some of the stuff I've been talking about here. You need to ask yourself, why would these sites link to us? If you can't answer that, then they're not going to answer it, and the chances of you getting that link are incredibly slim. You also want to think broadly, and you don't want to limit your answers based on your current site. If you do some of this research and see that your competitors just have a lot better content, or that there's content that can help you get a link, go ahead and create that content. At Vertical Measures, we talk about not breaking the chain, and part of that is if you see some content that could be created that would help the link building efforts, you've got to go ahead and do that. Okay, switching gears here a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about some Google Advanced Search Operators. Anybody in the link building realm should really get good at Advanced Search Operators because they are so incredibly helpful. I want to start off with one of my favorites, probably my favorite. It's the site colon one. Basically, by putting in site colon the website.com, it'll show you the number of pages indexed by Google on that site. It kind of makes it your own personal search engine for that site through Google, which is just invaluable. So you could do site colon blah blah, say CNN.com, and then not that you're necessarily going to be link building there, but just to give you a general example, and then you can search for whatever topic on CNN.com, and that'll be the only things that show up. So the example here, if you put in admissions and then site colon lse.ac.uk, that'll show you admissions information from the London School of Economics site. You could also do something a little more general. Is here you can see do the site colon just gov, and it'll find you pages about peace. There's the keyword specified within the .gov domain. When you're doing this particular search, you want to be sure not to put a space between site colon and the domain. If you do, it won't complete this advanced search operation. And then you can also use conjunctions. So the example here, you could do Windows Security minus site colon Microsoft, and it's going to show you examples of Windows Security, different results on that keyword, but it won't include anything from the Microsoft.com domain. So you can kind of do both. You can say only Microsoft.com. You can say everything but that. It's just a really useful tool, and I like to use it all the time. Say you're looking for a directory, you don't know if your client's already in there. Say if you're just starting out, and you could do site colon and then put your client's name in there or their keyword, and if they don't show up, then you know you're probably good to go ahead and request that directory. Another one, this is kind of like Open Site Explorer or any other of those that I was talking about at the beginning of the webinar. Link colon your website.com. It'll display all the sites that are linking to that website. So real simply, link colon googleguide.com will show everyone linking to the Google Guide website. Just another way. I still probably would prefer to do something like Open Site Explorer because of all the robust information it provides, but just another way that you can do that. This next one is all in anchor colon your keyword. It'll return pages and sites that have links from other sites that contain those keywords. So this is when you want to see the sites linking using your anchor text. Google will restrict the results to pages containing the terms you specify in the anchor text. So the example here, you would do all in anchor Best Museum Sydney. It'll return only links to the pages containing those particular words. So kind of an anchor text analysis. If you want to see who's linking using your keywords, maybe go to those sites then and try to get those an anchor text link from them there, because you know that's kind of what their site is about, one of the things that they're linking out about. This is kind of more general example of the previous one. All in text colon keyword will tell Google to display websites that contain that keyword in the body of the page somewhere, giving prominence to keywords at the beginning of the body text. So this is another way just to see sites that are talking about your keyword. Maybe that can help you find a community that you can comment on, or just another site when you're looking for sites in your vertical that you might want to build a relationship with. Okay, cache colon is another important one. It shows you the last time Google crawled your website and what version it has in its cached. What's most important here is just to find out if a website you're looking at is cached or not. There's really no point to build a link to a site that's not even cached. So really, it's smart to do this one before even making the request, because if the page you're looking at the link on isn't cached, you're going to want to go ahead and move on to something else. And also, it can show you if some of the pages on your site are cached or not. So this is a couple different uses for a pretty important search operator. And finally, the last one that I'm going to talk about today is the in-URL colon, kind of similar to the site colon, but a little broader. That one's a little broader. With this one, Google's going to restrict the results to documents containing that word in the URL. So an example of how you can kind of use them both in conjunction is you would say in URL print on site colon googleguide.com. So it'll show you a page with print in it in the URL on the Google Guide domain. That's kind of the best way to put those two together. And as you can see at the bottom, you could putting in URL healthy and in URL eating is the same as another one that we're not going to talk about today, all in URL healthy eating. So when you want to make sure that a certain keyword is in a URL, this is a great way to go ahead and do that. And that about brings us to the end of today's webinar. I'd like to leave with a couple of takeaways. I hope if you, actually, I meant to say one more thing here. If you want more of these search operators, I obviously didn't go through everything out there, but I highly recommend getting good at these and really understanding all of them. Go to googleguide.com/advanced-underscore operators and basically just search for that, the advanced operators with the googleguide.com. I would definitely read through all of them, have it kind of as a resource. When you don't know how to search for something, you can go ahead and do that through that. So now we'll go ahead and do the takeaways. I hope you learned these 5 things, if nothing else. Link building leads to rankings, which leads to traffic, which leads to, yes, the reason why you're all on the call today and why we care so much about link building, money. Link building can lead to money through that transitive property there. Competitors can provide a roadmap to your link building strategy and bring light to new opportunities, so it's always good to do a little analysis of your competitors. You should offer value. You need to offer value through a compelling feature or a discount, because if you aren't offering value, the webmasters likely aren't going to take you very seriously or even send a response back. Once you have that value, you want to personalize the request, kind of build a relationship, because link building is all about relationships. There's no question about that. And finally, utilize link operators to dig deeper into the SERPs. And that is all that I have for you today. Let's see if we have some questions.
Thanks, Michael. That was great. So we do have a few minutes left for some questions from the audience, so go ahead and use the chat applet to enter your questions now. I've got one here queued up, Michael. It looks like Rude is asking, what numbers in the OSE would you qualify as authoritative? So in Open Site Explorer, what numbers would you expect to see?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say, I mean, a lot of it's relative, but if you're doing in the 60s or 70s, that's certainly a very high qualitative site. If you're getting into the 80s or 90s, then that's very, very qualitative. So, I mean, basically, yeah, I'd say in the 60-70 range, that's something that's really pretty good.
Okay, great. It looks like Lara, I'm not sure how you say her name, but commented on the fact that you mentioned inlinks from general article sites and that they have limited value. Can you expand on the current value you feel is associated with posting articles in that manner as far as link juice from Google?
Yeah, I mean, I think article sites are great, especially for quantity, but I mean, that kind of page is never going to have PR in the actual page. Some article sites have great domain strength, so you do want to do a couple, because one of Google's ranking factors in 2010, I guess now moving into 2011, is having a wide variety of domains. But just because an individual article page is really never going to build up PR, it's not something that's going to be for the future something that ranks too highly.
Okay.
So I mean, that doesn't mean you don't want to do it. You still want to do a mix of a number of different things, but just when I'm trying to get manual links, I'm trying to get kind of the top of the top stuff that's authoritative on its own, and that can get on a high PR page itself.
Okay, perfect. I have a question from Rob. He's asking if you see value in calling versus emailing for link requests.
You know what? I generally do the email, obviously, as you can probably see through this presentation. You know, I think that's kind of, some people have actually wanted a call. I just think it's easier to kind of communicate what you're talking about. And, you know, I mean, you're on the web, so that's why I use that. I think that in some situations, especially for those really top of the top, it might be worth it to go ahead and make that phone call. It certainly couldn't hurt, but I kind of think the introduction online at first, if you don't have that prior relationship, because if someone just gets a call about a link, they're going to be like, what are you talking about? So I almost think maybe as a secondary thing, send the email, and then once you've talked a couple of times, maybe finish it off with the phone.
Great. Yeah, Rob says that he agrees, and when he he does call. It looks like it seems to work out pretty well for him.
Yeah.
Amy's also asking, how effective or trustworthy is it to have a link on a directory?
Well, that again depends on the particular directory. There's a number of different factors you want to look at there. You want it to have a really high authority domain, so on the home page of that directory, and then you want it to flow PageRank throughout. So if none of the pages on the site really have PageRank, then that's not really the greatest directory, and you want to look at the domain strength at the top. So even if the page that you get the link on doesn't have PR, it can still be a really good directory. So I mean, just to give an example of one really good one that we use, Joe Ant. That's incredibly authoritative. I believe it's a PR7 these days. It might be a 6. You look at its all of its metrics, the domain authority and the PR at the top. Those are really strong. So even if you don't get a PR there on the page, it can still be a pretty strong directory.
Okay, great. Alexander is also asking if you had any tips or tricks for getting really high quality links, or if it's even possible without a personal contact.
Without a personal contact, I mean, I definitely think without a personal contact there, I think it is. I mean, it just depends on your content. I think that with some sites, like I think I was saying with the product pages, if you have a product page, that's incredibly difficult to sell to somebody, because it's like, why would they link to just your product page? There's really no reason for them to do that. But if you have some really good content that somehow would advance the knowledge of the people on their site, kind of take what they're doing to another level, then I think there's no reason why they wouldn't link to you. And we have found success in situations like that. I do sometimes look at a client and say, hey, we're really never going to get incredibly high quality links with this one, just based on what their site's like and what they offer, and if it's too much services. But if you have great content, there's no reason to think that you couldn't get that.
Great. Well, thanks so much, Michael. This was a really great presentation. And it looks like you were able to answer all of the questions that I have in the queue here from the audience. If anyone's interested in taking a look at this recorded video webinar version, it will be posted this afternoon at www.verticalmeasures.com/webinars, as well as the slides will be posted on the Vertical Measures profile on SlideShare. You'll also want to mark your calendars for the next Vertical Measures webinar on February 9th, featuring Abby Gilmar, our content strategist here at VM. She's going to be presenting on Twitter for Business, so go ahead and, again, mark your calendars for that. And thanks again to Michael. Everyone, have a fantastic day.